Today I'm here in Red Bay, Alabama City Cemetery requesting that the governor of Alabama provide a posthumous pardon to this young man who gave his life for our country. His name was Fay Bolding. Fay was convicted of moonshining as a young man, and they went in front of the judge and they requested a probation for the offense of moonshining, running a still, and judge said, "No, young man, you need a harsh lesson in life. You're going to do a year and a day in jail." So they sent him off to prison for a year. Newspaper article describes coming back after being away for a year to visit with his friends and family for the first time. A bit of a celebration, I'm sure. Well, 2 months later, he's enlisted in the Army, and he's assigned to the 175th Infantry Regiment, attached to the 29th Infantry Division. So I'm hoping that that judge that had sentenced him to the year and a day in jail was watching on that morning of June 6, 1944, when the eyes of the world were upon these American men, very young men in many cases, about to hit the beaches of Normandy. And the first wave to hit the beaches, Omaha Beach, was the 29th Infantry Division. This young man, Fay Bolding, the moonshiner, was the 3rd regiment of the 29th to go ashore. They got his obituary wrong in the newspaper. They said that he was a replacement division, replacement soldier killed on D-Day. That's not true. He was not a replacement soldier. He was held in reserve with the 175th Infantry Regiment for the 29th Infantry Division. The first two regiments landed on D-Day, the 6th of June. Sometime late on the 6th, early morning of the 7th, Private Fay Bolding came ashore at Omaha Beach with the 175th. And he would fight his way inland. All the horrific things that you hear about and see of Omaha Beach and the fighting that ensued soon after that. He was there until 2 months later, August the 12th, 1944, when he was killed in action, buried in a soldier's grave in Europe for about 4 years until they brought him home here to Red Bay. So again, I'm asking the governor of Alabama to consider the right thing to do here is to pardon this young man posthumously for his offense of being a still operator. Today we have 100,000 Americans dying from what's known as fentanyl. And so I'm pretty sure there weren't those type of numbers from folks trying to make a dollar in tough depression times by moonshine and a little bit of whiskey. Now, I've been on national television with this movement to clean every veteran headstone by Memorial Day. But I got to tell you, no funding whatsoever to support the men like Fay Bolding that are buried in our local cemeteries. We have a huge budget for our national cemeteries, not so much the ones managed by the National Park Service apparently. I think it's about time we recognize all of these American heroes buried in our local cemeteries, start doing the right thing and support this effort to keep them clean. I'm just a spokesperson, just raising awareness about it. I don't have the budget to do all of this. Where's the leadership in America? I'm reaching out to you now. I'm hoping the governor of Alabama will be the first one to maybe step back from the college football scene and all the stuff we do on Saturdays and Sunday for football. And the real heroes are right here, buried in these graves with markers looking like this. That's pretty despicable. But it's not because people don't care. It's just because this is something people don't do. They don't hang out in cemeteries and think about the condition of veteran headstones. Now that you know, I'm hoping you'll join me and get out in your local cemeteries. Find these local heroes give them a respectable, honorable burial site. They didn't all die in combat. Many of them made it home, but they didn't come home like they were when they left. A fine thank you to the mayor of Red Bay, Alabama. That's where I am right now. I'm here in Red Bay, Alabama, northwest corner of the state. Met her at a fundraiser for a local animal shelter. I stepped up and asked her if she would be able to provide me with permission to clean veteran headstones here in the city cemetery. She said, I'm married to a Marine. Notice I said married to a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. So they're not was a Marine, they're always a Marine. So she's married to a Marine and said, you go in there and you do what you need to do. We appreciate you bringing to people's top of mind what's happening with our veteran headstones. I hope she'll be able to see this video. And her name is Mayor Fancher. I've seen the Fancher name either in this cemetery or a cemetery nearby in Mississippi known as Ridge Cemetery. Here in Red Bay, Alabama, you have the Tiffin Motorhome Company. You guys wonder how it is that I get around the country to promote the cleaning of veteran headstones. It's in a Tiffin motorhome. And they have a wonderful workforce here in Red Bay where they take a lot of pride in their work. Been doing this for about 50 years now, building motorhomes, and we were fortunate enough to be able to take refuge in our Tiffin motorhome after Hurricane Ian destroyed our home with floodwaters. Wasn't expecting to need to live in a motorhome with a destroyed nest, but things like that happen in life. But I can tell you it's not nearly as traumatic as what Private Fay Bolding endured on our behalf on the Omaha beach of Normandy and the couple of months that he spent in combat. When you have a rough time, you're thinking how difficult your life might be and how hard things might be. I want you to think about this man right here. Think about his mother who's buried next to me, next to him. This is the Bolding family plot. They buried him first. Next to him his mama. Next to her his daddy. Next to his father is his sister. And he had a twin brother. Can you imagine what that must have been like? Twins are very connected, as you might know. And to lose your twin in the war, I'm sure he could feel what was going on. These are white marble gravestones. They call them grave markers. It's supposed to be a headstone. This is actually positioned at the foot of his grave, because the way they've got this cemetery laid out, it's facing east like most of our cemeteries in America, based on Christian beliefs, Christian values. The Bible tells us to look to the east. So that's what all of these people did. They buried their loved ones facing east, feet to the east. So this would be at his feet. Just below this stone, probably out of sight from the camera there, is a family headstone, or maybe it's a individual headstone. Family name Malone. So if you've ever listened to the song Riding with Private Malone, my wife pointed that out when she dropped me off here with my supplies. But as you can see, it's not difficult to clean these headstones, these grave markers. If you'd like to participate in this movement to honor our veterans with clean headstones in local cemeteries, church cemeteries, family burial plots, visit the website bymemorialday.com. I've put together videos, training videos, that you can learn how to do it, how to do it properly. There's a protocol issued by the National Cemetery Administration. You'll find a link to that document at bymemorialday.com. I've gotten feedback and comments from folks watching my videos. They'll suggest that I use a pump-up sprayer instead of squirt bottle. Came across this pretty cool battery-powered 2-gallon sprayer. It's a Cobalt brand from Lowe's. I'd like to give a big thanks out to Lowe's for their support of veterans. I'm a Navy veteran myself, and I really appreciate their veteran parking places that they have. It's a nice feeling to be recognized. They offer 10% discounts to veterans. I bought that Cobalt 2-gallon battery-powered pump-up sprayer. So if you'd like to stop by Lowe's and pick one of those up, it's kind of a low center of gravity sprayer, so it's not going to fall over on you. I'm not on you, but you know, in the cemetery. And I've learned that I use a lot less water when I'm using this battery-powered sprayer. Not that it's all about conserving water while you're cleaning veteran headstones, but it sure is nice not to have to tote water as often in the cemetery. I carry typically 3 to 6 1-gallon jugs of fresh, clean water to refill my sprayers. It's nice to maybe use half the water that I used to. And more importantly, I didn't realize that there was any danger in doing this cleaning headstones, but I ended up with tennis elbow from squeezing the squirt bottle with my right hand, repetitive motion. I ended up with tennis elbow. I'm sure there were some other contributing factors that led to my tennis elbow, but I got to thinking about what are some things that I'm doing that might be repetitive and cause me pain in my forearm and my elbow area. And I got to thinking about all the comments that I get from viewers on YouTube suggesting that I use a pump-up sprayer, and that's what led me to think about, wait a minute, maybe squeezing that squirt bottle a million times cleaning headstones, maybe that is what aggravated my elbow. I'm really excited about this battery powered. It's a pop the battery out. It's got a charger, kind of like any other battery powered tool. Has the same type of battery, and it just pops into the sprayer. And you pop it out, put it on the charger. But I'm serious about this, Governor of Alabama. I'm asking you to stop what you're doing for a moment and think about all the veterans in your state. And if you're a fellow governor in the United States, I'd like for you to do the same thing and think about, why don't we do something for our veterans buried in our local cemeteries that aren't covered by the budget of the national cemeteries for veterans buried there? Veterans, there's twice as many, at least, veterans, probably 3 or 4 times. Who knows? They don't even know how many veterans are buried outside the national cemetery that have received government furnished headstones like this. But it's time that we do the right thing as a nation and put forth the resources necessary and the manpower necessary to honor these veterans with clean grave sites maintained properly, no different than those buried in national cemeteries. And this is not the job of somebody else. This is the job for you and me as grateful citizens of the United States to do this work. I hear it many times. People will say, well, that's something that the convicts ought to do that, or the Boy Scouts ought to do that, or VFW ought to do that. American Legion, they come up with everybody that should do that except themselves. And I just say to you, you enjoy the fruits of this country just like everybody else, and so we should be a grateful nation. Every one of us should be able to get out here and clean a veteran's headstone. And if you can't get out and do this, then, you know, you could help in some way. You could help organize a veteran headstone cleaning event. You could donate some money. You could contact your local politicians. You could contact the folks in your area that control the budgets for your cemeteries. And just be a leader. Be a leader in your local community, be an advocate for these veterans of the past. They can't speak anymore because they gave their lifeblood for us. So this is how a veteran's grave marker should look. Now you can see there's some staining here at this side, some staining here. Some of this staining will never come off because it's just been here for too long. It obviously looks a lot better than when we started. And it will get whiter and whiter and whiter as the weeks pass by after today. So I'd like to thank Private Fay Bolding for his sacrifice for me, for his community, for his state, for his country, for the world. As he was getting on those landing craft, he was told, "The eyes of the world are upon you." And they were, but today they're not, as you can see. So I'd like to get the eyes of the world upon these members of the greatest generation that provided the freedom and the security that we enjoy and take for granted today. I'm Trey Zipper with By Memorial Day. Get out in your local cemetery, find these veteran headstones, see for yourself that I'm right. They look like what you just saw at the beginning. Watch my videos, learn how to properly clean these, raise awareness in your local community. And by Memorial Day, every year in perpetuity, we need to get our eyes and hands on these veteran headstones, these graves, and make sure that they're properly cared for, so that they're respectable by Memorial Day. And if you get Wreaths Across America involved in your local community cemeteries where they're placing wreaths on these graves, you know, let's think about, shouldn't these headstones be clean before we put a wreath on them? Kind of makes logical sense, doesn't it? I also advocate keeping a flag and a flag holder at every veteran's grave 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Visit bymemorialday.com and enter your local cemetery into veterangraves.com